frustrating for both the library staff as well as for our network folks. But it has primarily to do with the fact that it's new software and it's however it integrates with everything else we have. So.
Any time frame on?
I spoke with Mr. Smith today. He was talking with Bill Forbes about getting a different server in there. So it usually doesn't take, it's usually a couple of weeks. Of these projects that we have on here proposed, the additional sedan is one that I think is one we need to, that I would like to actively pursue. The single pane windows, I think, is one that we need to do just from an energy standpoint. Obviously, replacing the auditorium roof is a pretty high priority. And as I said, it's not on the list, but one I think would be beneficial both from a cost-saving standpoint, but also improve the visibility and the functionality of the south chimney and replace those lights in there. So I will, as I get more information about those things, bring those back to the board. If there are any others that board members have interest in bringing before the board, we can sure do that.
Was there, back during tennis season, was there some concern about the tennis court?
There's always been concern about the tennis court. And, we've made some repairs. We've contacted people about how to make those repairs. We can put something like that on the list. That's about $100,000 to $120,000 project. If the board wants to look at doing that, we can. But at this point, that seems like a bigger project than we want to take on.
I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah. What? Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead and finish your statement.
Well, I mean, what they did, and I'm not exactly sure the time frame on how. I think it's somewhere like around 8-9 years ago. They had concrete tennis court surfaces. They had, their primary difficulty was that they had what tennis court coaches call bird baths, which they had low spots in the concrete, and they had lots of standing water and issues like that. So they came in and they put essentially like an asphalt surface down over that concrete to correct those irregularities. And then that asphalt surface was painted with this textured paint that they use. And asphalt over time tends to volatilize, and petroleum products give off gases and things like that, and stuff starts to become brittle. And so there are a few places where that has happened, and we've patched it and repainted it. At some point, the option would be you go in there and have to take all that stuff off and then have to put new stuff back on, or take everything out, including the concrete, and just pour brand new concrete.
Well, those cracks, a lot of those come from cracks in the concrete.
The existing cracks that are underneath, that's right.
Wouldn't that be, a lot of the cracks on the track would be the same thing?
The track is a little bit different.
Well, but there are the cracks.
There are some there, yeah. The track doesn't have a concrete foundation. It has concrete perimeter, but not foundation underneath.
Oh, that's not concrete underneath it.
I think it's asphalt. That.
Really? So, what do you do about those cracks in the asphalt?
Out there, they'll fill them before they put the new material down. The only way to keep from having those kind of cracks on the tennis court would be you take out the old tennis courts, you put new ones in, and those tennis courts are old enough. They weren't designed or built the way they do them now. They actually do what's called cable stressing, in which they have tubes with cables that go between the various sections, and they actually kind of bolt them together and stress them, pull them down together tight, that keeps those cracks from developing. But ours, the existing one we have right now is not like that.
How about putting recapping them with a layer of concrete?
We could do that. Doing that part is about 50 to 60,000. But 5, 6, 7 years down the road, we'd be right back where we are right now. And so it seems like if we're gonna put that kind of money into tennis courts, we ought to just take the old ones out, build ones that don't have those inherent problems. But we could do that. They can even strip off the old stuff, put new stuff on. So it's kind of, how much do you think we use that for the program?
There's 2 courts there, right?
There are 2 courts there.
So you're talking doing them both, right?
Yep. And the city, as we may have mentioned before, they would just love to have somebody adopt the other courts that are up there at the park. Take care of them as well. And those are actually in probably greater need of repair and service, because they have kind of an artificial turf sort of covering on them, and they have a whole different set of issues.
Have those cracks been sealed for this winter on the tennis courts?
Yeah. Yeah, they've been filled with kind of a foam rope, and then they go back in there with a silicone sealer.
Do you have any idea what bleacher renovation cost would be? North Gym?
Ooh. The numbers I have were from a couple of years ago when I inquired about that. I would guess at this point it would probably be, well, replacement would be the number I would have, and that would be about 150,000, 160,000 to replace them. And that would be just the main floor. That wouldn't include the ones up on the deck.
Is that replacing them with what is there now? That
No.
type of seating?
Well, it would be rollaway.
Plastic, though,
Yeah,
that.
they would be those plastic type that have all plywood decking on the floor and then on the risers, so there are no open places like we have currently.
There's a company reclaiming that lumber and making wood floors out of it. Did you know that?
Really? I know that there's quite a market for when they take those out. I mean, that's how we got some of our ones to make repairs, but yeah, that's most all of that type of bleachers are made with majority of it's yellow pine, which is pretty pricey wood right now. So if they're making floors out of it.
I'd be curious to know down the road several years if that's something that we couldn't do.
Replace the bleachers.
40+ years old, there's some wear and tear on them.
Would there be more interest in doing that, or in trying to renovate what's there? Or you think that they're just too old to do much with? One of the things that I've seen done is they go in and basically wrap the bleachers with carpet on the seating surface. One, because it improves the aesthetics of it, but it also makes a little bit better surface to sit on. But you still do have the old, you still have the old mechanism and things like that. But we'll get some information on that.
We just had Christmas, and I was sick Christmas Day, so that's my Christmas wish list.
Okay.
I wasn't able to enjoy Christmas. All day. It was terrible.
Any others?
My heart bleeds for you guys. on then.
Item 5, economic development funding. Our district had representation at a meeting that took place in November, where some work is being done. We're trying to get some more economic development going on, and it was, at that meeting, there was kind of a comment made if there were agencies or organizations willing to help offset some of the costs of that meeting, because they had a facilitator come in, that they would appreciate that. I know that the total cost of the facilitator was, I think, about $500. So I would suggest that the district provide $100 toward that. I know that the city has done that at this point. There are a number of other agencies that are involved, I think, that could have ownership to help with that as well. The county, 2 other school districts. So if the board were to approve that, that would be our suggestion. And we would make the contact with the parties involved, with the organization involved.
Mr. President, I would move that we approve $100 funding for the economic development meeting that we had.
It's been moved and seconded to approve $100 to help fund the economic development meeting that we attended. Any discussion? All in favor, right hand. All opposed, same sign. Financial report.
On your computer desktop there, you'll see an Excel file. It says BD Financial Statement. And if you open that up, it shows where we're at. This is the one page that we format that we've been showing you of late. Pretty much on schedule of things. We're watching the instruction personnel area real close. More, as I mentioned last month, more and more of our budget items are having to come out of our local option budget. Each year our general fund does grow a little bit larger, but it's not growing at a rate that keeps up with inflation. And so when we have additional costs for utilities, insurance, things like that, at some point we can't fit it all under the general fund, so it has to come out of local option budget. And that's, as you scroll down there, you'll see there is one item down there under utilities, electricity, that shows the amount that we've expended, but it doesn't show you an amount budgeted. That's because that is coming out of LOE instead of out of general fund. The other thing that impacts these numbers is more and more of, because our special ed funding has to flow through our general fund, and the amount that requires for special ed every year, even when we do get little increases in general fund, it's almost always taken up by the increased flow through and what we have to spend for special ed. So, nothing else I think I need to speak to on this unless someone has a question. And we'll just keep providing you with this each month. You can see how things are progressing. One thing I would speak to on this, most state agencies, schools, and all kinds of other public agencies are kind of waiting to see what the governor's going to say at her State of the State address coming up. there's going to be a couple of things. One, this Wednesday, there'll be a meeting in Hutchinson I'm attending where districts will be hearing from the state about kind of what ifs, things that might have to be cut or could be cut, as well as there will be a special live broadcast that Dale Dennis will provide shortly after the governor's State of the State address for superintendents in terms of, is there anything that was said in the State of the State address which impacts us? There may not be, but everybody's speculating there probably will be with the revenue shortfalls they keep talking about, which originally they were talking about for next year of being about 800 million, and now either because it's easier to say or because the revenue shortfall is getting less or getting more, they keep talking about it as being $1 billion. It just may be that it's a round number, easier to say, but there will be some differences or changes there, so we'll keep you updated as we get that information as well.
Added agenda items or executive session.
That's right.
So moving on, communications, any board members' activities, reports you want to talk on, read then? Nothing?
I attended the convention with you, Dr. Kenworthy. I'll do a very brief notary, take less than 5 minutes. Attended the delegate assembly. The legislative committee report, I think, was mailed to everybody. The highlight of the evening, I think, was listening to my brother make a speech in favor of Rodney Roush, who is your new KSB president, which is a good thing, I think, for our area. Thought the walking lunch was terrible. But we went through the walking lunch okay, and went in and looked at the floor. The breakout session was the one I attended, Why Teachers Quit. And this was handled by Pittsburgh State University Dean Andy Tompkins. And I wrote down some of the biggest reasons why teachers leave our schools, according to KSB data. Lack of support system, lack of appreciation or respect. They feel they are left out of the decision-making process. They're given assignments outside their area of expertise. Feelings of discouragement and frustration. Poor school management. Lack of classroom resources. Lack of mentoring and induction programs. Class size being too large. Not enough support from administration. Undisciplined, poorly motivated students. Uninvolved parents, lack of resources, and unreasonable expectations. And one of the things I wanted to express to you too was that the teachers are more apt to stay in a district and a community if they have a good working relationship with those two guys right there. I thought that was interesting. The keynote speaker was the end of the day. He was tremendous. His name was Mr. Mark Scherenbrock. He's an Emmy Award-winning speaker from Minnesota, and inspirational. It was fun. I think I could have listened to him for 3 hours. I don't know about Bruce, but he was very good. He has a website called www.nicebike.com, and when you get home, click on that. He's got some video clips of some of his speaking engagements. So I appreciate the district sending me.
I went to his website and showed him my wife. We had to chuckle a little bit because one of the little demo videos that they have on there shows him speaking before the executives of AIG.
Yes.
So. They have to laugh, I guess.
Is this before or after?
This was after. Well,
I got a desktop calculator and our president didn't.
That's right. But the superintendent gave me his.
In the packet.
That's right. I cried mine until I got one.
Second highlight.
Yeah.
That's all, Mr. President.
I had to attend it, and we appointed Mitch as secretary, and he took good notes and brought it back to you also.
What'd you use to vote with this year?
Raised their hand. Oh, they had our number, 350.
Stan got a frisbee.
Frisbee.
Yeah.
First year I went, I got a Kansas flag. So, you would like that 350 number, I'll bring it back. Anyone else on the board? Moving on, administrative reports. And real nice. You could put your coat on and model for us.
One thing I'm not, it's a model.
I didn't say you, I meant the sweats.
Enrollment figures at the top there. You can see we're have lost a few students, but we've also gained some. If you look through the different grades, we've lost a couple here and there, and we've gained a couple. Secret Santa program this year, we were able to get clothing for 64 children in our community. Some of those are elementary students, there are some high school students, preschool children, of families that we have. 5th and 6th music concert went very well. Students did a great job, as usual. The instrumental part is always good. The vocal was really good this year, I thought. They did a great job. On Wednesday of this week, we have our school geography bee. That involves students in grades 4 through 8. Mrs. Morris is actually the one who organizes that event. And then the winner there takes another local type test to see if they will qualify for the state. Communities that Care survey, we give that every year to students in grades 6, 8, 10, and 12. The information from that survey is, we use that data some for our safe and drug-free school monies. We get some information from there. We're going to continue with our after-school tutoring program. Mrs. Russell has 4th grade math tutoring a couple times a week, and Mrs. Roush does tutoring for 5th and 6th grade students in whatever area they're needing assistance. Elementary PE again this year will compete in the jump rope and hoops for heart program. One thing about our program, Mrs. Friesen does a great job getting students involved. We've been one of the top 2 money raisers in the state of Kansas for our size of school. And then we've been in the top 10 for all schools the last couple of years. We have a jump rope demonstration team that comes from Larned to give a demonstration to the kids on different things they can do. And this is a group who, it's kind of an extracurricular activity. They practice after schools. Kids from grades 4 through 8 participate, and it's fun to watch them. They do some interesting things. And that's all I have. If there are questions, I'd be more than happy to refer them to Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
You're welcome.
Enrollment, you can see it's pretty similar, been pretty consistent all year. We're down one. I was informed today that we're having a couple students come back. So there'll be another 7th grader in there next month. We're starting tomorrow again. I just put something about state assessment updates. We're continuing update stuff to get ready for assessments before Christmas. I periodically go through and I'll check and make sure teachers have what they need, passwords to get on websites, to be able to do that for high school and elementary if I need to do that. So we're continuing to get that going so we can test reading, math, writing this year for state assessments. I just mentioned there's a financial aid meeting. It's on the school calendar on the 14th at 7 o'clock. Mrs. Haynes verified today. A lady from Barton will be out. Parents are interested in getting information. They talk about, you know, how to FAFSA is the main thing that, and some of you know that, you have to fill out, you can't get financial aid, can't get anything until the FAFSA is filled out. Can't fill out FAFSA until you've done your taxes for that previous year. So we'll talk about some of that, and websites, and some other places you can go to look for scholarships and things like that. Midwinter Classic begins on the 20th, as you all know. That's a boys tournament. Our girls play in McPherson at the end of January. Prom Parents Tournament is the middle of the month. And there is activity account at your places. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan. Anything for us?
The only thing I had, there will be an interest-based bargaining training session this Friday down at the Special Ed Co-op from 9 to 3:30. And then another training session, if you can attend on the 9th, on the 24th. If there are any board that would like to attend that, you can. The gentleman who's been doing our interest-based bargaining for us here will be providing the training, John Dorn. If you have the time and are available, I'd recommend it. It's a good program. It's worked really well for us for the last 4 years. So call district office and let us know if you want to attend, and we'll make arrangements.
Three of us, 4 of us done that? How many's done that?
I've done that.
4. And you over there.
Okay. Nothing under miscellaneous? We are ready for executive session.
Mr. President, the motion to go into executive session tonight, we need to take a deep breath for this one. We need a motion for personnel, negotiations, student issue, and property acquisition. And we need 15 minutes.
Carol.
Mr. President, I move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing property, negotiations, student issue, and personnel
Second.
for 15 minutes,
Second.
including everybody.
Start with me and then we'll have principals come in.
Okay, starting with Dr. Kennedy, followed by the principals.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we go into executive session for negotiations, student personnel, and property issues for 15 minutes, beginning with the board and Dr. Kimberly and the principals to join us later. Any discussion? All in favor, right hand. All opposed, same sign. No resignations. Future agenda items, Duco, if they are available next month.
Yep.
Could be practice.
Could be a break.
Two other items that we're looking at placing on the agenda for February. One of those has to do with some, looking at some class projections and starting to look at some staffing issues for next year. And somewhat related to that, something that was discussed both at the regional KASB meeting and also I think Carol Long, when she attended the energy summit at Russell, they talked about And that's the idea of 4-day school week. I'm neither promoting it or demoting it, but I think it would be something worthwhile for us to start to look at the pros and cons of it, because there are benefits and detriments to doing it, but I think it's something we can at least look at. I've started to collect some information and research on it. It's not the kind of thing that we would be looking at doing necessarily for next year, but possibly for the following year. But I think it's the kind of thing you want to talk about pretty carefully and look at the pros and cons of it. If there actually are benefits, as some people promote, and then what the difficulties are with it. So just kind of a preliminary discussion about that for next month as well.
Anything else, Dr. Kimberly?
That's it.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor, right hand. All opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned.